I remember it like yesterday when Matt came down the stairs and said so casually with a smile, "I booked a one-way ticket to Santiago, Chile." I thought to myself, is this real? Can we really leave our amazing careers, friends, and family? Fast forward 10 months later, after all the hard conversations, endless checklists, and heartfelt goodbyes, we were heading to the airport with one backpack each, about to set out for a multi-year adventure around the world. Filled with excitement, we had no idea what to expect, but we knew it would be a fun ride. Join us as we share what we are learning on our journey of a lifetime. This is Passport Joy Travel Talk with Nikki and Matt Javits. Hello. So this is a really good episode, and we really think you're going to like it. I'm going to discuss the importance of travel insurance, why it is important, what it is and why you should get it, what great travel insurance policies cover, and the limitations that travel insurance policies have. Another hot topic I'm going to discuss is traveling with prescriptions and refilling prescriptions while abroad. I will also provide some tips to hopefully save you time and money and save you from some potential headaches along the way. I'm going to cover the importance of travel vaccines and go over some really reliable online resources that you can refer to for information on those vaccines and when to schedule an appointment with your doctor prior to going on your adventures. I'm going to also cover flu shots during travel and just much, much more. We will also cover some questions from our followers, like how we stay in shape while traveling and how we watch American sporting events while traveling. So it's a fun episode mixed with a bit of health information as well. Thanks again for tuning in, and please be sure to subscribe to the podcast tool that you use, whether it be iTunes, Stitcher. We personally use Overcast. And when you do subscribe, you will automatically receive each episode when it's published. And when you feel comfortable, please rate and review us as well. It really does help us, guys. We're going to be discussing our contest. It's a really awesome contest that we have going on with a bunch of free prizes, gadgets, electronics, a bunch of free stuff for you guys. It's awesome. I wish I had these myself. Some of them we do. They're amazing prizes at the end of this episode and how you can enter, but those details will be at the end of this episode. So, all right, now on to the episode. We really hope you enjoy it.
Okay, we are privileged as travelers because Nikki, based on her career and education as a clinical pharmacist, brings knowledge to the medical problems that we might have on the road. She can address those rather quickly. So when it comes to things like travel insurance, vaccinations, prescriptions, anything medical, she's absolutely our marriage counselee in that area. And she answers all those questions for us. And I turn to her for all these answers as they pop up for us. As we decided to make this move to travel full-time, travel insurance was one of the main things we looked at early on. And I had a lot of questions because I thought we were covered in other ways with our credit cards or the insurance we had back home. And so she helped fill a lot of those gaps and understand it in a lot deeper because of her career and all the insurance that she had to deal with at her job on a regular basis. So she's going to cover that now and look into what the reasons that we decided on travel insurance and why we went down that path and why you should probably consider it as well.
Yeah, so just in my opinion, I think that travel insurance is probably the single most important thing that you will need for your trip when traveling abroad. And quite honestly, I mean, we're talking about your life and your health and your bank account. I mean, health is not cheap. So travel insurance basically can fill any coverage gaps in your current domestic health insurance plan. And it can also act as primary health insurance policy for full-time travelers such as myself and my husband. And an awesome thing about travel insurance, in addition to acting as medical insurance, is that some travel insurance policies can also help cover things like trip cancellations or trip interruptions due to sicknesses or injuries before you leave. They can help with baggage protection and reimburse you for things such as lost or stolen or damaged luggage. They can help with things like natural disasters and emergency medical evacuations. And the list just goes on and on.
Excellent. So another question that people have a lot is around vaccinations. Before we left, we got, I think, 1 or 2 vaccinations in our local pharmacy. Talk about that and what people should consider as they're going through that process. Is it safe to get vaccinations abroad? I know you and I just went through that process. Talk about that, why it was okay for us to get ours in Bangkok and that process.
So, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's definitely safe to get vaccinated abroad. And I think if you're lacking a certain vaccination, it's better to be vaccinated than not to be vaccinated. I think it's really important to make yourself aware of all the different types of vaccinations, both recommended and required, that you may need prior to going on your next big adventure, as opposed to getting them while you're already on your next big adventure. But yeah, I mean, when in doubt, if you're already in Thailand and you think that you've forgotten a vaccination, go ahead and get it anyways. There's great facilities located all throughout the world, whether it be a medical clinic or a hospital. And you could do your research online and see what people have said, where you can go ahead and get that vaccination. Just be sure that, if you fall in that category of if you have some sort of illness or if you're immunocompromised or maybe if you're pregnant, that you make sure that you talk to that healthcare provider and let them know your health status prior to getting that vaccination. I always like to tell patients, make sure you bring your vaccination card or vaccination history with you or print it out from your family physician. It's not bad to get double vaccinated. So if you had received a tetanus shot before you had left on your travels and you can't remember that, and then you go to Thailand and someone says, have you had one, or asked you if you've had a tetanus vaccine, and they revaccinate you, it's completely fine. But I just suggest to bring a printout with you. There's so many things that go into play when getting a vaccine or travel medications that you need to be aware of, like where you're visiting or your age, and like I said, your health status and previous vaccinations and how long you're going to be staying and what types of activities that you'll be doing where you are. So just make sure that's part of the history that current provider where you are at is taking. And if they're not and you don't feel comfortable, just know that you have other options and that you can go somewhere else. But I definitely feel like it's safe wherever you are in the world to get that vaccine as opposed to not.
Where do you usually check as we travel to different countries? I know you do your research and you find what vaccines we're supposed to have.
My go-to is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or you just go to the CDC's website. Another really good website that you can go to is the World Health Organization, or the WHO, WHO. They both provide great online resources for describing what each vaccine is in great detail, what type of vaccine it is, the number of doses that you need, or if a booster is needed, and the contraindications or, the warnings, so to speak, of when you should and should not receive the vaccine.
And some countries require a card, correct, that proves that you've had a vaccine?
Correct. There are some countries that will require a specific vaccination card. Really, the only one that's required right now is the yellow fever vaccination, and that proves that you've had that vaccine. When you're going to and from certain countries where yellow fever is prevalent, so yeah, just make sure that if you are going to go to a country where that is prevalent, that you do carry proof of that vaccination, that it has occurred. If for some reason you do lose that, you will be held up at customs and they will just revaccinate you and quarantine you for a specific amount of time. And that's pretty much it. So it's not a huge deal, but that kind of sucks that you'd have to stay somewhere, just to be revaccinated when you already did, in fact, have that vaccine.
Excellent. And the flu shot, I know we got our flu shot in Bangkok, Thailand this year. Please talk about the importance of flu shots and the ease it is to get it elsewhere in the world.
So the flu shot is a little bit different than in the United States. So we're definitely spoiled in the US. In the US, you can basically walk into any physician or medical clinic or even pharmacies and receive a flu vaccine by a pharmacist. I found that around the world, it's not as easy to get a flu vaccine, but you can receive them at most medical clinics in any hospital around the world. But it's really, really important to get that flu vaccination. Another question that I do want to touch on is that I commonly get is, will that flu vaccine that I receive in the United States protect me during my international travels? And the answer is absolutely yes. So you don't need to be revaccinated if you've had received that vaccine during the year. But make sure you do get that vaccine if you're going to travel to areas that are going to have, flu that is prevalent. Flu is a very dangerous virus, and you don't want to be exposed to that and not be protected.
Great. And then prescriptions are a big question as well, whether you're going on a 2-week or a 2-month trip. Everybody has the common concerns of, hey, can I take my prescriptions from home, and or if they have to get something on the road, can they get it? Talk about the pharmacies that we've seen around the world and ease of use.
Yeah, so traveling abroad with prescriptions can definitely be intimidating, especially when it comes to figuring out how you're going to travel with your prescriptions and just the whole legality of it and how you're going to refill your prescriptions, especially if you're going to be traveling long-term like us. I was really intimidated by it since I knew that I was on much needed prescriptions that I could not go without. For me, pharmacies around the world are exactly like pharmacies in the United States. They're pretty much on every street corner that you see. There are definite differences. Pharmacies in the United States tend to have, in my opinion, a little bit more temperature regulation from just a standpoint of, I have seen the more open air concept as I've traveled around the world. And with this being said, the only reason I mention that is just because I know that certain drugs have to have certain temperature regulations. I've been to some pharmacies that, have been exposed to the outdoor elements like extreme heat or even cold. And I just don't like to buy my drugs from pharmacies like that. So I like to know that my pharmacy is in a well air-conditioned building where the drugs are kept at a normal, stable temperature, not exposed to the heat or any moisture. But yeah, that's just me. As far as refilling your prescription, most of the time, prescription is not needed. So you don't really even need a current prescription for your medication. You can just simply go in, ask the pharmacist or technician the medication that you need, and you can simply do this by the generic drug name, which will be similar from country to country, and it will differ by the brand name of the drug. And then the pharmacist or technician can then find the medication that is the exact same or something that will match what you are taking. So yeah, I haven't had any problems thus so far. But if you ever do have a problem when you're refilling your prescription, you can always go to a local medical clinic or a hospital, and a physician would gladly write you a prescription, or you can tell them what you've been on, or you can give them a list of your medications, or have your family physician, fax something over, email something over, so you can get your medication squared away.
Excellent. And it's not a bad thing to shop around as well. We found prices will vary depending upon the pharmacy and country. So if you have a multi-country trip planned where you're going to be in several different locations, like in Southeast Asia, if you're going to Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, you can shop in between to find the best deals for you, because each country has different pricing typically, so to find the best price. As you can see, I'm extremely lucky to have Nikki on my side to work through these questions, because whenever anything medical pops up, I just turn to her and say, what are we going to do? And she makes a decision. So it's wonderful that way. If you have questions in this category that you want to ask Nikki, then she can address them. Please send them in. As you can see, she has a passion for this field, and she loves to talk about it, especially because we're in this unique scenario where we are traveling full time. We get to see these different clinical and pharmacy locations around the world, and we definitely do stop in just to check it out and see what's different. So if you have those questions, please send those in. But at the same time, remember that please talk to your local medical team on any of these decisions as well, and before you make any decisions. Okay? Thank you. years of struggling with chronic back pain and limited activities, horrible sleep, I decided to get a major back surgery about 4 years ago that left me in the hospital for 6 days and had many weeks of recovery. After that recovery, I decided to get into foundation training. It's back exercises that focus on your core and your lower back and provide strength and stability moving forward. And it's changed my life totally. I'm so happy that I found foundation training. And without it, there's no way I could travel the way we do. With all the tight squeezes on buses and airplanes and little cars and tuk-tuks and all the ways that we travel, it would be impossible if my body didn't feel the way that it did. And I attribute all of that to foundation training and the strength it's given me to do, not only to feel the way I do within those transportation, but also to take on these long hikes that I love to do now and all the physical activity that I do. Foundation training is the key to that. So if you have back pain and you want to figure out a way to overcome it, or you just wake up and you have chronic fatigue, I highly recommend foundation training as a way to get there. You can get a free guide and check out all the other products. Go to passportjoy.com/back, BACK. Again, passportjoy.com/back to find out what everything you can get from this type of training for your back. We also use ExpressVPN as a secure way to connect to the internet anywhere in the world. It's your own pipeline to the internet that has servers around the world to keep you secure from hackers while you travel. It's also a great way to see the content that you deserve to see that you probably paid for on your subscriptions as you travel, with those digital movie apps that you have to see your shows and your movies while you travel. You can also see flight prices like a local, which sometimes can be cheaper. And it just gives you the security and privacy that you want in coffee shops, local restaurants, on your phone or your laptop. And if you're doing anything financial, whether you're traveling, you're at home, you're in a local coffee shop, you need to consider getting a VPN. And we use ExpressVPN to do that. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. So again, check out passportjoy.com VPN for your free 30-day trial. Again, passportjoy.com/VPN for your free 30-day trial. And also check out passportjoy.com/tools for our other products that we love to use while we travel. Questions and answers, Q&A. Okay, again, please send in questions to matt@passportjoy.com or on the socials, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and we'll get back to you. First question comes from Dave from Indianapolis. Asked, do you guys go to gyms to work out? How do you stay in shape? I see that you hike a lot. Is that the only way? I guess, yeah, hiking is a huge part of it. When we can, there's not always hiking. And by the way, so we're not hikers, we're not trekkers traditionally. This is kind of a passion we've come into since we got on the road, as certain things have been a part of the areas that we're in. We don't have hiking gear per se, but we'll do like day hikes, usually like 3 to 4, 6 hour types of hikes. I did Cinque Terre, that was, I think, 6 hours. Cinque Terre, that was 6 hours, about 11 miles. So I've done some epic hikes like that in my mind. We did a big hike in Chile. That was nuts. That was beyond. Nikki was amazing. It was Saratoco in the San Pedro de Atacama area. It was cold. There was snow on this mountain. It was extremely high, higher than any 18,000 feet. So it was higher than any mountain that you could find in the continental U.S. And we didn't start at the base. Their base was higher. But that was, I think, about a 7 or 8 hour. So yeah, we do love hiking, and it's been a great part for us to stay in shape. But I do exercises every other day. I do some sort of walking, some probably every day, but I do this. It's called foundation training, and I'll put the link in the show notes. But I had a major back surgery 4 years ago, and I've got a bunch of hardware in my back. And without foundation training, there's no way I could be where I am today. It's basically reset my life. And through these exercises, it provides strength in my back that I can do day to day. So I do it more of, it's not always fun to me. It's kind of annoying at times, but I do it because it helps me stay in shape. And especially with the rough travel, it keeps my back strong so I can do that. So I do that. And I feel better than I've probably felt since I've been in my mid-20s because I've had back pain for a very long time. So I don't really have that anymore. And I beat that. And so that's been amazing. And I do go to gyms on the road. There'll be times I remember there's been awesome gyms that I've gone to on the road just to be able to move some iron around and do stuff with weights. And so that's always nice. And there was a real nice gym I went to in Lisbon, Portugal. There's been some seedy ones along the way, but they're just nice to go to just to maybe have like a clean format at times and use their facilities. Because that's a good way to save money too. If you've got bad facility, if you're staying in a nasty hostel, you can find a decent gym. So if you're saving money with a hostel, but your daily budget is higher than the cost of that hostel, you can offset the cost by going to a gym and taking showers there. Maybe even using a restroom there. So I've done that from time to time. If we're staying in a place where maybe the women's shower is better than the men's and mine's a bad sitch, so I would go to the gym, work out, and then shower there. So that's been cool. And then I like to play, if I see kids playing basketball, I'll go play with kids playing basketball from time to time. So that's been fun. But to be honest with you, when you're saying that we look like we're in shape, 90% of that is food. Now that we're traveling full time, we get to really monitor what we intake. And food has been a big part of that adjustment. So that's helped us keep the weight off. And the food outside of the States is a lot cleaner sometimes and a lot better, especially if you're shopping at markets, food market, fresh veggies and fruit markets. That's been great. And we hydrate like crazy. I'm a fish. I drink all kinds of water all the time.
So I don't work out, but when I was at home, I did. We had a gym in our home and I used to work out all the time. But I have always watched what I've eaten, and 90% definitely is food. I'm crazy neurotic about what I put in my body. You know, I'm a vegan and I don't eat any animal products. And so I think that plays a big part in why people think that I look very, very healthy, but I'm probably just really skinny fat. But I do get, yearly checkups and I'm doing well. But for those of you who don't know Matt, he's very competitive and he likes to, when I go on these hikes, like push me to my limit. So try hiking with Matt one day and see how hard that is. And he is nice about it. So he'll let me rest like maybe 2 times in a 6-hour period. But yeah, so my main workouts in all seriousness are just long walks. I mean, for real, when we walk, it's like 10 to 12 miles when we're out all day. And that's long. So for me, it's hiking, it's trekking. I don't have hiking boots. I have trekking shoes. I have these New Balance tennis shoes that are actual trekking, all-terrain trekking shoes. They're my most absolute favorite tennis shoe that I've ever had in my entire life. I used to be a Nike girl until we went on these travels, and it's the first pair of New Balances I've ever had, and I'm never getting another pair of shoes ever. But in all seriousness, it's walking, it's trekking, and I walk everywhere. I don't have transportation. So if I go to the grocery store, I'm walking. I walk a mile to get to the grocery store. So things like that. But yeah, for me, it's definitely watching my diet, and I walk everywhere, and there's no workout. I'm not a member of a gym, but at home, our home gym consisted of me on a treadmill. I used to do push-ups. I had like medicine balls or workout balls. I used to call them medicine balls, but those big, huge bullet balls that you would sit on, and I would do like resistance push-ups with my own body weight, and I would do sit-ups and things like that. So just a light workout, not like hardcore pumping iron workout, but I would do that. And I no longer do that. I don't have that luxury of having that with me. So yeah, I've had to adjust. And although I wish I had that equipment, I don't. And I'm sure that if I told Matt I wanted to join a gym, he'd be happy as a bee and let me and come along with me, but I don't. And a lot of it is just out of, I know I walk and I eat very well. So, and some of it is part laziness, but yeah, so that's my workout plan.
Yeah. So she's being hard on herself and me a little bit too, but, yeah, so I don't know. I think it's many factors there, but yeah, I do miss my gyms, and we didn't have a gym in our home. We had a treadmill and some weights and a clean floor mat. So that was nice, but I don't want you to think that we had this massive gym in our house. But anyway, so I think that answers that question. On the next one, Will from Michigan asked, have you ever run out of money because you can't find an ATM? It happened to me once in a small town in Spain. Have you had a similar issue? We are very cognizant of this because we've been told about horror stories on the road of people having the same experiences. We've had some very close calls. You're 100% right. I think that's something you need to be aware of. So for others that are looking to travel to certain places, you need to have money. And it's a weird balance because you want to have enough money on you at all times, but then it's like, how much is too much? You don't want to be rolling around with a ton of cash on you looking like a target, but it's a tough deal because ATMs are getting easier out there, and they're even making crypto ATMs now, but there's a lot of ways that you can get money. But yes, the small towns, you need to be aware that you don't get stuck.
There was a time when we were in Paracas, Peru, and there was legit 3 ATMs, I believe, for the entire city. And we stayed there for 2 weeks. We will say, how much money do you have on you? Let's take out X amount. And we were getting low. And it was probably like, I don't know, 5 p.m. at night. We had just had dinner, etc. And we went to go pull out cash. And one of the ATMs, the main one, had a sign over it, like this tattered piece of 8x10 sheet of paper that said that it was broken. So we walked into the hotel next to where this ATM was and asked where the next ATM was. And they said that it was a couple blocks away. So we walked to that ATM, and that ATM was out of money. I mean, we thought maybe it was our card, because sometimes, your card doesn't work at every single ATM, or each bank doesn't accept your card. We've never really had that problem, but our card that we use is pretty universal. But we kind of lurked around the corner and we were watching this man use it, and he wasn't able to obtain any money. So then we were asking around where the next ATM was, and it was legit a mile away. And so we were like, well, screw it. We have to go, and we need money. In reality is that we were leaving the next day, and we owed the guy at the place that we were staying, not a substantial amount of money, but like $25. And so we didn't want to not have money and then have to go through the logistics of that while we were leaving and he was dropping us off, etc. So we walked the mile to go to this really fancy hotel down the street. And when we get there, we find out, in fact, they don't even have an ATM. And so bam, no money, whatever. So we get back home to our place and we let the guy know, hey, the ATMs are broken and they're out of money. And he says, oh, that happens. Like, no worries, whatever. And we carry a small amount of US money on us at all times. And we just said, hey, if we give you this amount of money, is it cool? And he was like super happy, and he accepted our American money. So that's how we kind of rectified the situation and moved on with it. But yeah, it can happen. And it was just kind of funny because we were going all over town that night trying to get money out, and we were just not able to.
Yeah, and it brings up a great point too. I actually forgot about that story, that keeping American cash, US dollars on you at all times is typically a good idea, because it can get you, yeah, everybody would like to take it, and it can get you out of some sticky situations as well. So we always do that. The next question is from Chris from Las Vegas. Asked, Matt, it is clear you are a big sports fan. How do you watch your favorite teams or the big games? Is it possible to watch games on the road? Yeah, this has been a hard one for me. I'm a huge sports fan, all sports. Although I didn't watch probably a ton over the years, I've watched less, but I love to watch all the big games and not really miss much when it comes to the bigger games, when it comes to the NBA finals or NFL playoffs, even the World Series, stuff like that. I tend to watch all those games, and then big boxing events, UFC fights, golfing, end of the Masters, all that stuff. I tend to keep an eye on it and watch it. So it's been extremely difficult to watch these games on the road. I guess it depends. But now I'm picking up new sports. Now I'm watching more football or soccer. I was really big into the process of the World Cup. We've watched cricket, Muay Thai fighting. We've watched all these different things. We're hoping to go to a rugby match here soon. So we've seen a lot of different events out there. But when it comes to sticking with my sports teams back home, NCAA basketball is a big thing to mine. And all those questions of how do you watch the NCAA tournament and things like that. So yeah, it does stink. But I'm really shocked to find how much people don't care about American sports elsewhere. I mean, I grew up as a kid. I mean, I played college hoops, so I always thought that everybody cared about sports, but certain places it's not even a big deal. Obviously, Latin America football is really big, but outside of that, there's some things they just don't. It's not even a big deal to them. And when I'm talking about American sports, they really don't care. So, yeah, that's been eye opening to me. But in some cities, they do cater to expats. You look at like Bangkok and stuff like that. There are big time expat bars that you can go to and really see anything because they know they can cater to the fans and get your money that way, which is really smart. But I did happen to call my brother, and this is pretty cool that I used, is call my brother with Google Duo. I was actually in Greece at the time, and it was about 7 a.m. in the morning. And I called him. Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor fight just happened to be on, and he had the pay-per-view, and he sat the phone on the chair, and I had a chance to watch the fight through Google Duo. So I watched the whole fight up from his phone. That was amazing. So things like that, there's creative ways you can still figure it out. And I've been to bars where I've watched games, but for the most part, no, I don't get to watch all the games that I've hoped to. That is it. So again, send your questions into matt@passportjoy.com or on the socials, and we will get to them and answer them as quickly as possible. Thanks. Okay, the shame on that is when somebody's doing something blatantly wrong and you just think, why are they doing that? It's a shame on that moment. So today I'm going to describe just big crowds that you get that gather around historic or super famous sites. Among these, Machu Picchu, Taj Mahal, places around the world that are super famous. In this particular case, we were going up the stairs of Machu Picchu, and to get to the top of Machu Picchu, everybody knows how gorgeous it is, the mountains and hills in Peru. It's time consuming, first of all, during the day, whether you take the long bus up or if you take one of those 4-day treks to get there. But once you're almost at the point where you get to finally see these historic ruins, you got to take these stairs that go up there. In this particular case, and it's tons of people that are there, depending upon what time you go of the day. It's hard to not have a lot of people. And in our case, about 6 people in front of us, this dude takes a business call. Like, he's taking a business call as we're walking up Machu Picchu, and he's dragging the line. So because he's so enamored with whatever's going on in his phone, he's slowing down the line because these steps are not easy. They're kind of big steps. But so he's on the phone talking, and it's just dragging the line. And finally, I had to say something to the guy because he was just being kind of a tool on how he was handling it and making us all kind of wait. So shame on that. In that case, it's just not cool to do it the way that he was doing it. The other one I was talking about is kind of similar in the same way at the Taj Mahal. When you got these very spiritual places around the world, and when you're inside, you're not supposed to talk. You're supposed to be complete silence, and you're really not supposed to take photos either. People sneak photos all the time. That's where you can see the photos on Instagram and stuff like that. People are sneaking those photos, but at the same time, you're supposed to respect those places. But it's one of those things where everybody, you get groups of people that just do not abide by the rules, and they're talking like crazy, and you're just like, come on, man, just if we're all here together, let's just all do the right thing and do the same thing. And we've seen this a lot of times in major cathedrals as well, where people just don't play by the rules. Nikki's got a funny one here.
So mine plays along the similar lines of just kind of not minding your manners in sort of famous places. Mine happened in Venice by the Rialto Bridge, but mine is more along the lines of a dude with some anger management problems. I was walking, Matt was about maybe 10, 15 feet ahead of me, and I was just kind of looking around, taking pictures with my iPhone, and all of a sudden I felt this kind of like sharp, painful thing, like almost jab in my side. And I was like, ow, like, what was that? And I looked and I could just see this guy, and I thought he might have kind of nudged me like purposefully, but I wasn't too sure. But I screamed because I really was certain that he kind of did. And I shouted out, and Matt heard me, and he was like, hey, what's going on? And I said, that dude, I think he just nudged me. And I looked ahead of me, and sure enough, it wasn't maybe 10 seconds later, I see a girl my similar stature and size, and he did the same thing to her, and she screamed at the top of her lungs. And I mean, because it really did, it hurt. I mean, it was like right in my side, in my rib cage. And Matt saw with his own eyes that he did it to her as well. And so he kind of Matt looked at me, and he said, "I'll be right back." And I was thinking in my head, like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, we're in Italy. I mean, what is he going to do to this guy? Like, I told him that he just did that to me. Matt visibly saw this guy just do this to another girl. Like, my husband does not take it lightly when men hurt other women. So like, I can't have my husband end up in jail. So I'll let him tell you the rest of the story, because I didn't see what he did, but it's kind of funny.
No, yeah. So to set the scene as well, is this bridge in Italy, it's Venice. It's where everybody takes the epic photos of all the boats in going through the canal, but it's so crowded, so many people. So when Nikki yells, I go try to see her, and then I turn to basically where she's pointing, and I see this old man nudge this other girl, and I was just like, what in the hell is going on here? So I kind of high-stepped it, speeded down, got behind the guy, and it was all kind of flash adrenaline type rush. I knew I wasn't going to like jump into a fight with this dude or anything like that, but he needed some sort of payback because he's just an angry local, which isn't cool. And I get what's going on in Venice right now. It's growing like crazy. It's huge. It's like people we talk to there. It's essentially adult Disneyland in Europe. It's nuts. It's so many people, but at the same time, brother, it's good for your economy. I get what's going through this guy's head, but he is just angry. This old man is just angry. So, and I say old man, I'm maybe, I don't even know, 50s, maybe 60s. I don't know. I felt kind of bad at the words, but anyway, so I get behind him a little bit, and I nudged him pretty good, the same way he was nudging the girls. And I kind of threw him like, my nudge, because I'm 6'5", 220, I kind of nudged him into a wall. And then he whipped around quick like he was going to do something. And then he realized who did it, and he didn't do anything. But I think at that point, he understood that he was being a dick too. And I think hopefully that'll change the way he handles his people in his country. But big time shame on that for that guy, and how he handles crowd control in his own neighborhood. Great. Say what? Say what? All right, thank you so much for listening to the episode. As always, please check out the show notes. This is where on the website, passportyear.com, under the podcast tab, you'll find the links to everything that we mentioned. It makes it real easy for you to follow along there. Okay, we've been talking about it for a while. We've got our podcast launch contest for reviews. The way you enter is giving us a review on iTunes, and hopefully it's a good one. And then rate while you're there as well, and subscribe. Please subscribe. It makes it the easiest way for you to get the episodes downloaded instantly. The contest prize today comes from the great people at Seven Corners Insurance. This is the insurance company that Nikki and I use as we travel full time. They offer customizable travel insurance plans to travelers all over the world. The two main products being travel medical plans and trip protection plans. Travel medical plans protect travelers when they get sick or injured abroad by providing medical coverage such as medical evacuations, 24-hour assistance, and medical maximums up to $5 million. Trip protection plans protect the costs and expenses of your trip in case you have to cancel, interrupt, or delay your travels, as well as provide coverage for delayed, lost, or damaged luggage. So this is a ton of research Nikki did prior to us leaving. In the end, we went with Seven Corners, and they just happen to be a Midwest company close to home, and we trust them, like them. They've been great to work with and really kind in a lot of ways. Their gift today is a bag of necessities. It's a hodgepodge of stuff. They've got a pillow, a blanket, shoe bags, laundry bags, luggage tags, a flexible cooler. They got all kinds of cool stuff in there. So that is their gift. So in order to win this prize again, please review on iTunes to enter, and you could win this amazing bag of necessities. Okay, that's it. As always, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch up with you again
Safe travel.